was like, if it got the iPad, this is going to be a very, very bad day. But the iPad works. That's right. And the show must go on. So I've actually been getting a lot of questions about what today's topic was going to be, right? Because we've had so much interesting learning and so much useful tools for us to grow into. And, messages, questions, suspicious looks, which I'm no stranger to suspicious looks, but I've been getting extra. So here is the hint for today's theme. It's Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style. See what just happened in the room? Total split. Half the room was like, ooh, breakfast at Tiffany's. And half the room was like, what was that, Hugh Jackman? Right? You're supposed to be Wolverine. I'm still Wolverine, but I'm also Hugh Jackman. So that's your hint for today, okay? We're gonna recap. The first session was circadian rhythm. And with that, we recognized how important it is for us to have cycle and rhythm and regularity, and we were regulating our circadian rhythm with the sun. And I ran over on time a little bit, which I should check my time. I ran over a little bit on time on that one. I didn't give a few details. So some of the questions were, how long do I have to see the light, in the morning to get my circadian rhythm? And there's no solid answer, but I'll give you the answer from a fantastic guy named Andrew Huberman from the Huberman podcast, great neurology guy. He says if you've got clouds, it's a little bit longer. It's maybe 10 to 20. If you've got direct sun or clear sun, it's maybe 5 to 10. So if you get 10 minutes, you're good no matter what. You can just kind of think of it that way as a rule of thumb. If you look directly at the sun, there are people that'll tell you not to do that. You can try it if you want to, but the rule of thumb for that is only look as close to the light as you can without it hurting. Okay, and there's a reason for that, because if the light hurts your eyes, it's tied to your nervous system regulation, and if your pupils cannot constrict, right, that's your parasympathetic drive, your pupils constrict, so the light's not so bright. If you look everywhere and the light is bright everywhere, it means your pupils are blown and you need to, chill out a little bit because you're stressed, okay? But don't look at anything that hurts, but you'll notice that as you regulate, you can look at light more intensely, longer, all that kind of stuff, and it's a sign that your nervous system is regulating. That was session 1. Session 2 was so awesome, I'm still thinking about it, and Tommy talked about micro-frictions, right? And he talked about that concept where we have to take bite-sized approaches instead of try to eat the whole elephant at once, right? Because if we get overwhelmed by our goal setting, we say, sure, I'm gonna do that tomorrow, right? Procrastinators unite. Tomorrow. So we've got those two topics that we're chewing on and we're considering. And today, we're gonna talk about another rhythm. This is a rhythm that it's ignored, it's misunderstood, or we teach to just push through, right? And just a disclaimer, this applies to all of us, gentlemen included. And actually, gentlemen, this might apply to you even more, because if you understand this rhythm, it changes how you lead, how you love people, how you build teams, how you show up. And if you happen to have a daughter, that little princess running around will eventually... Say it. That's right. Let me tell you how, okay, so my daughter Hope, you might have met Hope. Hope is totally awesome, and there's two ways that she comes into the door, right? Sometimes she comes into the door like this, and she just leans and waits, right? And then I have to say, Hopi! And then I give her hugs and kisses and stuff like that, and she takes it. And then sometimes she comes into the door like this. And I say, Hopi! So she gets the same greeting either way, but there is a marked difference in her entry, right? And of course, it could be the day, but that's not actually what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about where the conversations never go. So, what we're going to talk about relates to the moon and the phases of the moon, right? Because the phase works in a cycle, a rhythm that lasts for, that's right, 28 days, right? And so like science says, it's actually 29 and a half. But why are we paying attention to details? This is a beautiful, artful thing we're talking about. So 28, 29 and a half, same for now. But think about the moon, not like something distant, right? Not like something abstract, but visualize the moon. And when you look at the moon, it doesn't look the same twice on 2 nights, right? Because sometimes you look around and you say, where is the moon? Like, where is my daughter, right? She's like under a blanket, curled up, eating chocolate. And sometimes the moon is so bright, it looks like daylight outside. And so we have these phases of the moon, a 28-day cycle, and it's actually called the infradian rhythm. Ever hear that one? Infradian rhythm. I just learned that studying this. Infra in Latin is beneath or below, right? And so we've got this rhythm that is beneath the surface, and what's happening is beneath. So we've got different phases of the moon, and we have a new moon, a waxing moon, a full moon, and a waning moon. How poetic is that, right? Just beautiful, talking about the phases of the light coming and going. And we're about to learn how it works. So let's walk through this together with one rule that we want to bring into here and here for this. As we go through these phases, there's a rule of thumb that we want to take away from this message, and it is work with the phase, not against it, okay? That's your take home. So I might have a cue like work with the phase, not against it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna start at the beginning, at day 0. If you think of the moon, in a new moon, there's barely any light. You have to find it, right? And in your body, this is the body for everyone who is having these cycles, there's barely any hormones. There's low estrogen, there's low progesterone, and the body is doing something profound. It's resetting. And in this time, if we were going to take that concept and we were going to put it into something we can all understand, it feels a lot like this. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. And that's the phase. It's the sounds of silence, darkness, reset, restarting. Nothing is wrong. You're not broken, you're not weak, you're not falling apart. This is just the darkest part of the cycle made for reset. And if you think about this, a lot of times, culturally, this is the time that we hide the time that we kind of like punish, the time that we're like ashamed of, our time for withdrawal, all that kind of stuff, because we feel not productive, and it doesn't feel nice to people, you know, to verb, like to be around people and to put up with people and all those kinds of things, and we withdraw. But if you think about it, when the moon is in new phases, everything is still happening, right? The tide is still moving, the earth is still turning, roots are still growing down. All the things are happening invisibly. And those are the things that make everything else possible, right? Roots growing before plants pop up. It's part of nature, part of our rhythm. And so the mistake is to try to make a new moon like a full moon, right? Because you're not failing, you're just at new moon. And so we work with the phase, not against it. And again, I think it needs to be said, this is not laziness, this is not avoidance, but it feels that way. It's resetting and resting, but the answers will come, the productivity will come as the light comes, okay? And in our body and in the next phase, in our waxing moon or the follicular phase, for anyone who's interested in that type of thing, the moon begins to wax. The light comes back, and in our body, the hormones come back. And we begin to get this rise in estrogen, which holds things together and is actually really beautiful. And this one kind of feels like this. Do-do-do-do, here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Because the light is coming, the hormones are coming, the energy is coming, it's all starting to come back. And your body's starting to feel more alive, right? The other thing that we get with this is our increase in dopamine. Anybody know dopamine? Oh yeah, we know dopamine. So we start that phase, the waxing phase or the follicular phase, and we get an increase in dopamine, and dopamine brings motivation. And so that's where you might get that instance where you're having a conversation and suddenly your wife says, I want to rearrange. And you say, the closet? And she's like, no, the house, silly. And you're gonna help me. I need your strong muscles. Because with the dopamine comes the motivation, and it's time to rearrange everything. And actually, that's the right idea. That's the right phase. This is where we create, we start new projects, we have motivation, energy, it's new beginning, new starts, new initiations, and advice for anyone who is not in their follicular phase, but is in partnership with someone in follicular phase, stay out of the way. Nature is going to take its course right here. So stay out of the way, let it happen. Start new projects, be supportive. And what we always say is work with the phase, not against it. So we have the light increasing. The moon is filling up with light, getting bigger and bigger and bigger until we fit this. We hit this amazing phase that feels like this. Everyone around the world, are you ready for a brand new beat? Right? Yeah. Ovulation is here, the time is right for dancing in the street. We're dancing in the street. Oh. Now, this is your full moon. Full moon, full light, full energy. Now, this is not a long phase. This is the peak phase. full estrogen, full hormones, everything is right. It's time for dancing in the street. Oxytocin is spraying everywhere. Everything is wonderful. It's about to be glorious in this phase. This is the time for confidence, social drive, right? So what you'll notice is the walk. Where's Chuck? Evaluate my walk, okay, Chuck, because this is an ovulation walk. You'll see the physiology change, and you'll know, oh, mark this one down for ovulation. Because that means it's time to own the room. It's time to own the conversation. It's time to be confident, and all of these wonderful things happen in this full moon phase. Right? We've got magnetic personality, unstoppable, and in this phase, we act now. This is not the phase to wait for perfect conditions. This is the phase for action. Just like the movie, action. And you get to enjoy that bright full moon, shining, illuminating your life and illuminating everything. And that is our ovulation phase, our full moon phase. And next, we move into our luteal phase. That phase is going to be broken down into two. There's actually two parts to luteal phase, okay? So now we have the waning moon, and if you imagine the moon bright and full, and it just starts to have a little bit less light. And the first part of our luteal phase has, it has an estrogen drop-off, so we're losing some of the hormones there, but progesterone rises, and so we're operating in a different hormone profile. Okay, and in this profile, it's almost like, it's like working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, barely getting by. No taking and no giving. Because in this phase, we get focus. The drop in estrogen, the rise in progesterone gives us focus. And in this phase, we become focused, and attention to detail becomes the natural rhythm and the natural strength. Now, some of you men might interpret that as sensitivity. That's true, but the sensitivity we should reframe as focus. Because we're going to get very detail-oriented, we're going to dig into things, and this is the phase in which we finish the to-do list that we started in the follicular phase that still has like 17 undone things, right? So don't panic in the follicular phase when the projects keep piling up, because they're not supposed to be finished in that phase. They're supposed to be finished in this luteal phase, when focus, sensitivity, and work becomes the norm. Right? We tie up loose ends. We finish the unfinished business. Yeah, and it's kind of like it's the not glamorous phase. It's the work phase. We're getting work done. It's not pretty, it's not new, but it's head down, getting the work done, being focused on details, and what a gift that is. Right? Slightly more internal, but not total. Just sensitive and focused, so it's a different feel. The sensitivity and the precision can be a huge gift, not to be pushed back against, but to be leaned into, right? Because you'll have a chance to figure out what details, and it might be in things that you're doing, it might be things in relationship and communication, but the level of detail in there can also be discovered because it's high energy focused internally. And again, anytime we have a phase, we work with the phase, not against it. And we also have a continuation of luteal phase that is less hormone overall as the moon is waxing to the new moon. And this is kind of a taper off. And this has a unique feel to it, and it kind of feels like this. I saw her today at the reception, a glass of wine in her hand. I knew she was gonna make her connection. At her feet were a footloose man. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. That's it. So as the moon is waxing, we roll into that phase of lower hormones, internal work, and we recognize all the things that happened in the follicular phase that were starts, all the things that happen in the luteal phase that were finishes. Sometimes we don't always get what we want, right? Biologically, in a cycle, what that means is a woman's body put all that work into making this beautiful egg and implanting it into the wall of her uterus with good intentions of a beautiful baby. But if that doesn't happen, we go through this phase. And so in this phase, there's a lot of reconciliation time, very internal focused, and we recognize that this isn't an inconsistency, not a weakness, not a slowdown. It's an intentional internal drive to sort out everything from this past 28 days. Now, I have never had a cycle, but I've been around a lot of cycles. And I'll say that there is some real wisdom to this, right? So men and non-cycling women still have a cycle, a 24-hour cycle like a circadian. The circadian is 24-hour. The infradian is 28-day. There's also a week one. What was it? Septicadian? I forget. Yeah, it's septa something for a cycle. But I love the wisdom of this in having more than just a one-day cycle, because there's so much more to just testosterone peak in the morning, slow drop off. You may or may not get a second little bump in the afternoon, and that's it. And so that's kind of a short-sighted rhythm, a short-sighted cycle. So there's wisdom in recognizing the full 28-day cycle, not just for alignment with the people around us, but for our own energy. And I was thinking about this a lot because there's so much friction between, men and women and the misalignment of that cycle. You know, the day cycle and the 28-day cycle, they just don't seem to match very conveniently. You know? But then I thought, the sun and the moon get along just fine. There's a rhythm to this and an alignment that can happen when there is proper reflection, and proper coordination. So I was really impressed because I have fought against nature far too long, and it's been a disappointment instead of a guide. I guess we're not gonna really do anything that I wanna do today because it's late luteal day. We learned on the first one about period genes in guys. So remember that next time you're feeling salty about the cycle thing. But yes, so we have fought too long as a society against the cycle instead of embracing the cycle. And so we recognize performance based on output at any given time instead of output overall. There's a huge, huge difference when we're actually taking time to be creative for a phase, and wrap up loose ends for a phase, right? And don't forget, internally reflect and dance in the street for a phase. This is excellent wisdom. Now I'm trying to anticipate a little bit of what the questions would be, right, that I would miss. So cycling happens in females before menopause, right? That's the stopping of the cycling in your body. Do you still have a cycle if you have had menopause? Well, you don't have a physical cycle, right? But, talking with some in the audience, like my mom, she's like, I don't miss that, but there is still decades worth of cycle built into you, right? So you don't have a physical cycle, but there is still a cycle that's programmed into your cells, into your life, and into those kinds of things. So it's worth recognizing, right? There's a few phases that are going to be easy to pick, right? Dancing in the street, piece of cake. If you don't know how to cycle this, so you're a single guy who's never met a woman and you're into this and you don't know what to do, cycle it to the moon. Plan these larger cycles in cycle with the moon and see what happens to you. Maybe you'll be dancing in the moonlight, a whole nother song that I didn't even include. Missed opportunity. Yeah, at the end, if we have time, we're gonna do that together. Okay, so in conclusion, remember, give yourself permission to go inward if it's menstrual phase. Align your energy as a couple, as a group, as a team, inward for introspection. Follicular or waning moon, creativity. Start things. Be adventurous, and it'll grow and grow and grow. Ovulation, dance in the street, and in our luteal phase, finish it. Head down, get it done. There is a natural rhythm to these things, right? So guys, that kitchen that's been remodeled for the last 3 years, right? You just need a luteal phase. Okay, excellent. We have 30 seconds, and we're just going to pray to finish. Father, thank you so much for the wisdom that you've given us in our bodies and in the earth. Thank you for the sun, the moon, for men and women, for our ability to work together, and for all of it to bring your kingdom to the earth, to this place, and to each other. Father, we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. And people, we love you too. Have a fantastic day.